Attention Iowa Caucus voters. If you're 100% certain who you're voting for on January 3rd, then click this button.
Hello, I'm Jim Getman. Welcome to caucus training. Caucus can be defined as a gathering of the chiefs to direct the business of government. Here in Iowa, we have a caucus every 2 years. It's the start of the political cycle for the political parties. In particular, we'll be talking about the Republicans. The caucus that the nation generally hears about occurs every 4 years, which includes the presidential preference poll. The caucus process involves 4 steps. Basically, the first step would be the presidential preference poll that everybody hears about. The second step will be election of central committee people that serve the county organization. The third step would be selection of delegates to the county convention. These delegates would decide the county platform, central committee people that would serve at the district and state conventions. And the last step would be the platform planks for the party. These platform planks would direct the party's direction as to how the party wants to proceed in the future and how their elected officials should represent the political party. The caucus has it's a gathering of people that basically reside in your neighborhood, your precinct. The precincts can be kind of populous in the cities and rather sparse in the rural areas. Sometimes some of the caucuses would be real small gatherings where they just meet at somebody's house or at a local tavern. Larger caucuses would require facilities like a school or a church. The following video is a caucus training presentation provided by the Ron Paul campaign, and hopefully it'll answer some of your questions. So stick around, check it out, learn something, and hopefully we'll see you at a caucus near you soon. There are caucus trainings going on all over the state. This local group, superliberty.com in Scott County, they started their caucus training sessions back about Thanksgiving time, and hopefully we're going to have a real good turnout. Last time around, 4 years ago, Iowa had about 110,000 participants. They expect a slightly larger turnout this time. So watch the video, and hopefully we'll get to see you at the caucus and vote Ron Paul.
First of all, I'm Brian. I just flew in. I'm the state director in South Carolina for the campaign, and they brought me out here. I do a lot of copywriting and everything, so they brought me out here for that. I've been in Iowa. This is like the 3rd year in a row. I worked for a group called Right to Work before this, fighting against forced unionism. So it's nice to be out here this time of year when it's not snow all over the ground and it's negative 20, especially when you're from South Georgia.
Hi guys.
That's not good for snowmobiling though, when there's no snow.
I've never been on one of those.
Oh,
Last
wow.
time I was out here, I was riding by and looking like the ditches and all the paths, and I was like, it looks way more fun than a four-wheeler.
You come back and I'll teach you how to legally go faster in your snowmobile than you can in your car.
I'll take you up on that too. But basically, this is, I just got a note from a PowerPoint here, but it's really simple. Basically, I have 2 goals. The main goal is actually to get 25 delegates from Iowa for the national convention, get as many as we can for Ron Paul. And obviously the second goal would be to win the presidential preference straw poll, which takes place that night. How to win, basically turn out, bring everybody you know in your precinct that you can bring with you. If they're not registered, they can register right there on the spot. Caucuses start at 7, but we want you to be there at 5:30. That's when they open up to get people registered. Make sure you get in and everything. And
if you show up at 7:01, the doors are going to be locked. You have to get there early. Bring everyone you know. If you have to drag them or drug them, bring them along. Yeah.
Even if it's like your neighbors who aren't political, just ask them, hey, as a personal favor to me, will you please come and vote for Ron Paul? It means a lot to me. You know, I'll buy you dinner next week or something like that. And then
buy them a beer afterward.
Yeah, most of them will agree to do it. If you ask somebody to do something as a personal favor, most of the time they're going to say yes if they're a decent person.
Especially for beer.
Yeah.
I would.
So basically, when and where, we just said 7 o'clock, be there at 5:30. The locations are going to be posted in your local paper. The campaign's gonna have it on the website, your county coordinators are gonna know.
I have him here on the phone.
Where it's
Dennis
at.
knows him.
This is your guy here, Dan.
So,
And basically, a caucus is just a local meeting in your neighborhood. I think of it just basically you're going to a neighborhood barbecue with everybody who's right there in your local area. And
without the food.
yeah, without the food. So basically, our main goal, as I said, is to get as many delegates as we can. So you're going to show up, you're going to vote presidential preference straw poll.
So,
And basically, a lot of people are going to leave after that, but we want to make sure everybody sticks around. Because after that's when they start selecting delegates, and a lot of times everybody's going to leave, so all you're going to have to do is raise your hand. So when they ask about delegates, raise your hand as quick as you can, and you could be out of there in an hour to 2 hours, but it could be earlier depending on how many people stick around. And let me see my notes here. Sorry, I'm not very prepared for this. I just found out while ago I was doing it.
yeah, they just flew a bunch of, you guys got kind of thrown into this.
Mhm. Basically, the agenda to go in to do the Pledge of Allegiance, then they elect a permanent caucus chairman if it's necessary, if the regular chairman can't be there. And if you guys want to volunteer for that, if there's no one there, feel free to say, hey, you know, I'll take over the caucus now. Got it for y'all.
Actually, there are a couple of precincts still, I'm not sure if we've checked with the Republican Party, that don't currently have a caucus chair to run it. I think one's Muscatine 10, is that right? Or is Muscatine 9?
It's 9.
Muscatine 9, Fruitland, 1 or 2, and then Omar, I think, are the 3. Last time we talked to the Republican Party, they don't have a current caucus chair. So if you know anybody in those areas who might be willing to do this, let us know. It's very, very powerful to the voters when it's a Ron Paul supporter actually running the caucus.
Mhm.
It influences a lot. The person running it's got to stick around, makes an impression.
And then they're gonna have the presidential straw poll, which is not binding with the delegates. And then, like I said, a lot of people are just gonna take off after that because that's all they care about. Because it's mainly for the media hype, you know, setting the agenda, who's gonna do this, who's gonna do that. And then they're gonna elect precinct committee persons. If you wanna do that, that's fine. That basically means you'll be a member of your local precinct for, I guess it's the next 4 years.
Was it 4?
No, 2 years.
Is it 4?
I think it's 2
It's
years.
2 years.
Yeah, county central committee. And then all it means is you show up to your central committee meeting once a month, which most central committee members don't even do themselves.
That's why, I mean, if you wanna take over like your local party, it's a good.
It's a way to take the party back.
Yeah.
That's how we do it.
And then they're gonna nominate delegates to the county convention, to elect the delegates if it's necessary, and then those will go like alternates, and then the rest of it, but they're saying not to worry about getting bogged down in like what you actually do at the district convention, what you do at the state convention, what you do at the county convention. Just become a delegate, and they're gonna have a list of those folks, and then they're gonna be there afterwards to call you and like train you up and walk you through everything and make sure you know what you're doing. And then they're also, on caucus night, each precinct captain's gonna have a packet, and they're gonna have a sheet of paper that's gonna look similar to this. It's gonna have like the candidates, the votes, and then the delegates, and they're gonna fill it in, and then they're gonna call into the campaign as soon as it's over with and report the numbers. That way they can keep up with everything that's going on. Basically, that's it. Just go out and have fun. I mean, it's just a chance to take our country back and restore founding principles. And I mean, I'm coming from a primary state in South Carolina. It's difficult because the delegates there, it's a winner take all. So if you get 51%, lose 40 to 49%, you don't get anything. But here you actually have a shot. All you got to do is be organized, dedicated like Ron Paul supporters are, and just show up and hopefully celebrate a victory that night. So.
And what we got unique here in Muscatine County is that there's how many total precincts? 30?
I think about 25.
25, okay, there's 25 total precincts, but there are only 3 voting locations. So even though we have a lot of precincts, they're only gonna be meeting up in 3 different areas, which means that's less preparation work we have to do in order to have somebody at each caucus to pass Slim Jims out, to put stickers on the Ron Paul supporters, to talk with the voters. Generally, and we still have to confirm this, I don't know if you have yet, where is it going to be, you know, it's gonna be a super caucus where the speaker speaks to all precincts and then they split up into areas?
That's what every time I ask the question, that's what I always get. It's going to be one speaker,
Right.
and then you split up into precincts.
Okay, so even though we have 25 precincts here, you know, generally in the caucuses, each precinct is going to meet at their own location, and each precinct, right before they vote, each candidate gets to have somebody come up and speak on behalf of the candidate for about 2 to 5 minutes, why their candidate's good and why all the candidates are terrible and stuff. You don't want to put it in those words, but that's, you know, each candidate gets to do that. Generally, maybe 2 or 3 people are actually going to stand up. We're going to make sure that we have a Ron Paul speaker at every single caucus because it's very impactful when the voters show up, especially in a situation and an environment like we're in right now, where most voters are undecided. They're showing up, they're not enthusiastic about anybody, they like Ron Paul, they love Ron Paul, they're unsure about his foreign policy or his electability, so they're not sure if they really want to vote for him, but having a local person stand up with enthusiasm and speak and say, hey, look, I've been paying attention to what's going on here, I'm just like you, I've been a conservative all my life, and I've looked at Ron Paul and I think he's the only one we can trust and the only one who can beat Obama. It makes a huge impact on the voters. And we found that a lot of the caucuses where we've had somebody get up and do that presentation, we did very well. In fact, a lot of those caucuses we won. So it's very impactful. Here in Muscatine, we only need 3 people, apparently, because we only have 3 caucus locations. So it's something we're going to want to work together over this next week to find people who want to speak, who feel that comfortable speaking in front of a large audience, and most importantly, somebody who we feel can relate well to the voters. Because the most important thing is not so much really what you say about Ron Paul, but how the audience feels about you as a person. Because all of politics is sales and marketing. That's all it is. That's all life really is. But and all sales is about trust. And when people trust you, then you can sell them anything. So I'm not trying to make this like a sales game. But when you get up and speak for Ron Paul, and the people trust what you have to say, they're like, hey, that guy's just like me. You know, he's been in this neighborhood, in the community, he's been active. I feel I can trust him. He says that I should vote for Ron Paul. You know, I think I'm going to go ahead and do that.
And I think the campaign's going to have a form for the person who is a designated speaker. It's going to have it in their hand with their name on it, so they can show it to the GOP person, to let them know that they're the representative speaking on behalf of Ron Paul. That way anybody doesn't just jump up there and start running off in the mouth or
One of the things,
another campaign.
One of the things we're looking for too is if we can get veterans to do the speech, because you know veterans are very respected, especially with Republicans. You know, a veteran can punch a Republican in the face and he'd still say thank you for your service. You know, so when we have a lot of Ron Paul veterans, so we're going to work on that. Other than the speaker, though, at each location, what we need are the caucus captains and the precinct captains to be there to stand at the door, the Ron Paul sticker on their shirt, and to greet everyone that comes in with a big smile, a handshake, and say thank you for showing up, glad to see you here, because it's that personal relationship that you build with the voters that really impacts them more than really about Ron Paul. Because they haven't met Ron Paul, they don't know him personally, but when they meet you, you're that connection to Ron Paul. So you're representing him by the way you interact with the voters. So that's so vitally important, getting everybody out there, and that's what we're going to be working on. We're going to have plenty of flyers to pass out to people. We have, this right here is 2,000 stickers, so we're not going to need all of these. But we'll have stickers to give to all of our Ron Paul supporters when they show up, because one of the biggest complaints or worries that people feel they have with Ron Paul is his electability. And a lot of people vote, you know, they jump on the bandwagon. So when they show up at the caucus and there are all these people with Ron Paul stickers on, it shows in their mind, hey, maybe Ron Paul's more electable than I thought he was. Hey, you know what? Maybe if he has all the support, then I guess I should probably support him too. So we're going to make sure that our Ron Paul people are wearing these stickers, so we create that bandwagon effect. Before the caucus, sit down and talk with the other voters, not trying to convert them, just have a conversation to kind of build a bond with them, because that'll help impact their vote. Like I said, so many people are going to show up undecided that we have the ability to make a huge impact just by being a presence there, a warm, welcoming, inviting, friendly neighbor. It's going to make a huge impact there. People make decisions based on how we feel. How we think has less to do with the decisions we make compared to how we feel. So people vote for the person that they feel they can trust the most. Because our education system sucks and we're not given the knowledge we need to make a decision on which candidate has the right positions on the issues, because we're not knowledgeable, at least not we are, but most voters aren't knowledgeable enough on the issues to make a decision based on the issues. They have to make a decision based on who they feel they can trust to make the right decisions. So that's why people vote for the person who stands up straight, who speaks with authority and confidence, who looks good, because psychologically we feel we can trust a good-looking, confident person more than someone who slouches over and does this like an old crazy Ron Paul, right? So, you know, that's just psychology. That's one of the hills that we have to overcome. And that's one of the hills that we can overcome by being that friendly neighbor who instills the confidence in the other voters that yes, you can vote for Ron Paul. I'm going to, you and I are just like each one another. Voting for Ron Paul is okay.
guess who's eligible to participate in the caucus?
Anybody
The
who-
preparations that are required to go.
Right, anybody who's going to be 18 by November 6th of 2012. So if you're 17, you can still participate in the caucus. You must be a U.S. citizen. You must be a resident of Iowa. You can show up at the caucus and pass flyers out if you're not an Iowa resident, but you can't vote, obviously. You
Do they
can.
check your address at the caucus?
When you go to the caucus, you can register at the caucus. Generally, they want an ID, proof of residence, but technically the rules allow a second party testimony. Somebody to say, yes, this person lives with me. The rules do allow that. But you can register the day there, you can switch parties. You can literally switch parties, go and vote, grab another form on the way out, and switch again.
Will we run out of forms? Should we bring extras?
We have registration forms here. We are going to bring extras in case they run out or in case they run out. But most of our support is coming from Republicans. We don't want to make it seem like we're just pulling in all these Democrats and independents and that's how we win. Most of our support does come from Republicans. And if anybody asks you, are Ron Paul supporters going to support the nominee, whoever it is, the correct answer is yes. Most Ron Paul supporters are general average Republicans who just like Ron Paul. Now, there are a large amount of them that won't, but most Ron Paul supporters are your average. They're Republican all their life, and they just happen to know that Ron Paul is the most consistent conservative constitutional candidate. So if anybody asks you that, trying to give you a gotcha question, the correct answer is yes, most Ron Paul supporters will support the nominee. Once you're in, you can wear a Ron Paul shirt, you can wear Ron Paul stickers. We encourage people to dress, dress well, look impressive, not suit and tie, but business casual or whatever. Actually, whatever you all as Muscatine County residents feel would relate well to other Muscatine County residents. Suit and tie probably wouldn't, but maybe it would more in the Des Moines area. And camos would work really well out maybe in Keokuk County. So it's just different in every area. It's all about relating to your fellow voter and encouraging them that way by encouraging them to feel more confident in voting for Ron Paul. I can't tell you how many Republicans I've talked to are this close to supporting him. They love, love, love Ron Paul, and they don't necessarily intellectually disagree with his foreign policy. A lot of them feel, I want to bring troops over, I want to end these wars, but they just don't feel that he's going to protect us.
What's that telling you?
Yeah.
If the military is backing the guy, that should tell you something that somebody's confident.
Ron Paul's top three Mitt Romney's top three donors, first one is Goldman Sachs, which by the way, Obama's number two donor, or number one or two donor, was also Goldman Sachs in 2008. They play both sides. But Romney's number one donor is Goldman Sachs, number two's Morgan Stanley, number three is Chase, something like that. They're all
All
banks.
Wall Street banks.
All Wall Street, right? Ron Paul, on the other hand, number one donations come from the U.S. Army, number two the U.S. Navy, number three the U.S. Air Force. This idea that Ron Paul is weak on foreign policy or he doesn't understand foreign policy. Well, if he doesn't understand, I guess the troops don't understand. Right? The troops don't know what's best for them. It's obvious who the troops have selected as their commander-in-chief. Something we want to point out. To summarize with the caucus, simple. It starts off, call the meeting to order, elect a permanent caucus chair, which is usually the temporary chair, unless somebody has a bone to pick with them and they'll run against them, which we don't really need to encourage here. We only have 3 caucuses. And then they'll select the treasurer and the secretary to do all the business stuff. Each candidate gets to have somebody come up to speak. Papers get passed around. You vote. Then the county central committee vote. If you want to get involved in the Republican Party and change it, bring it back to its roots, I encourage you to get involved. The county central committee is what the Republican Party of the county is. They make the decisions on the events to go to, how to spend the money, et cetera, et cetera. That's how you can make an impact in the long run. Delegates. We got to make sure all the Ron Paul supporters stick around to become a delegate or at least vote on delegates. Each precinct has its own set number of delegates it can have to send on to the county convention. Some will have 5, some will have 20, some will have 2. Most precincts have fewer people who actually want to become delegates than slots available. So a lot of times you'll have 15 slots available and 3, 5, or 6 people want to become delegates, which is why, as you said, just raise your hand. When they say, hey, who wants to be a delegate? Pop your hand up first. We want to become delegates. If there's more people who want to be delegates and there's slots available, then you'll have a vote. And if you don't become a delegate, you can't become an alternate, which all that means is that if the delegate doesn't show up at the county convention, you take their place. A lot of delegates don't show. So being an alternate isn't that bad.
What does being a delegate entail?
What it means is that at very next step, and you go to the next convention. So what it is caucus, and then later on in the spring is the county convention. You'll have the Muscatine County Convention. And then after that, you'll have the district convention and the state convention. And then finally, the national convention. So caucuses send delegates from each precinct to represent their precinct. Doesn't represent any particular candidate, just their precinct, to go on to the county convention. And there at the county convention, you vote on more party things like the party platform and county or state central committee members. And then from there, delegates go on to the district and state level, which is going to be later on in the year in Des Moines. And then after that, you elect delegates to go to the national convention. It's really difficult to become a national delegate, but it's as long as you make it to the state convention, which is really easy to do. They never fill up the delegates slots as far as I understand. Really easy to get to the state convention. At the state convention, you get to influence who gets to go to the national convention. And we want as many Ron Paul supporters there as possible because Iowa's rules are unique, and that even if Romney were to win 100% of the vote at the caucus, and all the delegates at the national convention were Ron Paul supporters, they could all still vote for Ron Paul. The caucus has no legal or bylaw rule on how the delegates are going to vote. So we want to get as many Ron Paul delegates to the national convention as possible because that's really what makes it. The important part is we show up at the caucus, we get every Ron Paul supporter out, and we make sure that they become delegates.
Turn out.
All right, Voter Tracker is a website that we have that you can log into, and it'll show all the known Ron Paul supporters in your precinct. It'll also show all the known registered voters in your precinct, registered Republicans, Democrats, et cetera. In order to get the turnout we need each of our precinct captains to spend this week calling all of the Ron Paul supporters saying, hi, I'm a fellow Ron Paul supporter. Are you going to make it to the caucus next Tuesday? It's going to be this location. It's going to be at 6:30. Don't say 7. You need them to get there early. Say 6. If they show up at 7:01, they won't participate. Call them all up. Make sure they show up. Also, can you bring 3 people with you? Make sure they bring a friend with them. If all the people who voted for Ron Paul in 2008 brought 3 friends with them this time, we would win. And we already have way more than that already identified here. So we're doing really well. We just have to make sure they can turn out. We could know 100,000 Ron Paul supporters, but if only 20,000 show up, we only have 20,000 Ron Paul supporters. So the Voter Tracker website, you log in from home, you pick up your phone, you just start calling numbers, and you get in contact with them. If they don't pick up, you go down to their house because it has their address, and you knock on their door, and you say, why aren't you picking up your phone? And then it also, at the very top, will say how many delegates you need in your precinct to guarantee a victory. And we've had the Phone from Home program, we've had phone banks from the state office, we've had phone banks from out of state. We've had a lot of efforts going in to find our Ron Paul supporters. And we've found an amazing amount of them. So we've already identified many of Ron Paul supporters in the precinct. All you really need to do is call them all up, make sure they show up, and make sure they bring a friend. If you do that, then you will achieve your target goal of how many Ron Paul supporters you need to achieve victory. So it's very achievable. Winning is very, very achievable. It's just this last week, we need to put in this last effort. We're not going to have a week after this. This is it. This is your last opportunity. It's our last opportunity to get Ron Paul the nomination here in Iowa, and then no more.
Yeah, and this sets the stage for the rest of the country too. Like everybody's watching y'all.
You all have the privilege
And
to be the first in the nation. Any other questions?
I was going to say the other thing, the other business of the conventions are the platform planks. And they originate out of the precincts. And they go to a committee in the county that kind of merges them and they mess with them a little bit. And then they're presented to the county convention, and the county convention has to approve them before they pass them up the level to the district. So platform planks are pretty important, especially if they got some nasty ones in there, which they had in the past. And we want to make sure we shut those down. We want things like we support posse comitatus and habeas corpus. We oppose military arrest of American citizens. That's an example of a platform plank that we have to make sure we push that kind of stuff through.
Yeah, we haven't been putting a lot of emphasis on that, but it is important in making a long-term change in the Republican Party and bringing it back to its roots, because we want to get rid of the preemptive war, the torture, the un-Republican things that are in there that have been placed in there by the neoconservatives who are not conservatives.
And being a delegate, then you have the opportunity to participate in the committee that actually digests the platform planks. And a lot of times you'll submit a plank and it might not show up. I mean, the committee members just might say, "Oh, we don't like this plank." So that's why it's important to go to the next level and get it reintroduced. And you have to go through a process of collecting signatures and then to get it presented before the whole convention. But In addition to being on platform committee, there's a credentials committee that you volunteer to check people in and verify that they're delegates. There's rules committee. There's organization committee that sets up the convention. I served on a rules committee, and all, it's just interacting with the other Republicans. And if they're not quite Ron Paul, but they're almost, it gives you another opportunity to talk to them face to face and have that human perspective to it.
Right.
So that that's important about becoming a delegate to the convention. And also, you do elect these central committee people that serve through the district and on the state level. Now, fortunately in Iowa, we had 10 central committee members, and 4 of them were Liberty Ron Paul supporters. So we really gained a big effort in the last 2 cycles. So that's how important it is to become a delegate and participate.
Yeah, it's important. If you, I mean, the Republican Party has been hijacked by non-conservatives and people who really don't care about the Constitution, and we need to bring it back to its roots and to where it really belongs. And getting involved like that is part of it. Most of that stuff that happens, at the county convention and so on. At your precinct level, if you want to make changes to the party platform, all you have to do is type out or write out the plank that you want to add and put it forward, and it can literally be anything. If you want to say Republicans are pro chocolate ice cream and anti-strawberry ice cream, and it gets passed, it gets passed. So you can say anything you want it to say. And the committee can be overridden by the body of the convention, but being on the committee can help ensure that the right plans get passed forward through. There's also a committee that makes a decision on who's going to be a delegate to go on to the next level. So those are important things to do, and these two have had quite a bit of experience with that. Quite a few people out here, and we'll be helping you all with that after the caucus. When you're talking to people coming in and passing out Ron Paul flyers and greeting them, you're going to meet a lot of Ron Paul supporters that you've never met before. Give them a sticker and then say, hey, by the way, don't leave after the vote, stick around for the delegate process. That's why we want you all standing at the door, greeting people who come in. Because anybody who sees you passing this out who's a Ron Paul supporter or sees a sticker, they're going to say, hey, give me one, give me a sticker, give me 10 of them, Say, hey, stick around for the delegate process. If they're not a Ron Paul supporter, then don't say anything at all. Yeah.
And then there's a reporting process that happens after the vote is taken. You got to call that up to the Ankeny or whatever, because that the anonymous says they're going to hack it. Well, we want to make sure that each precinct is going to report a true, accurate number, so we really know what's going on. Yeah.
Well, Dennis has taken on as much responsibility as he can, and he'd be very appreciating of more support from everyone here, which is what we're all here for. So we're all going to be working as a team to make sure we have all that set up before the caucus starts, and we're going to have everything ready. And I'm going to be here, since this is my area, working together with all of you to make sure that we all have all of that prepared. So the speeches that
I think that's what the regional directors are doing all week, is contacting their precinct captains and getting all that set up. Like their main goal this week is focus on contacting all their people, turning them out, making sure they have everything they need.
That's going to be fun. It's going to be a little stressful on the way working up to it, but once we get there and we vote and we win, we're going to go back and party. And I'm going to go to sleep for a week. So, being involved in this it's so much worth it, because at the end of the day, all the energy you put in was for something more than a paycheck. You're making a big difference. So appreciate all of you showing up here and putting in the time and energy to save my future.
God bless Ron Paul.
Any other questions? So
Yeah, we went to the Ron Paul meeting in Iowa City at the
University of Iowa. Oh yeah.
and they wouldn't let us in.
Probably.
Oh really?
No, the fire marshal and police were out there saying that there's
full.
too many people in here, exits are blocked, people are standing in the aisles.
Wow.
We cannot let him, and there were probably 30, 40-ish of us
Really?
outside. And
Yeah, because I was inside there. I didn't know that they'd actually. We had
Oh, yeah.
1,300 people. It was pretty full.
Yeah, it was pretty full.
It was pretty bad.
From what because when I got home, then I got to look it up on the internet and watch everything, and I thought, holy mackerel, no wonder they wouldn't let us in.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. I guarantee we win. And the greatest thing is going to be able to see that the newspapers on January 4th that say Mitt Romney comes in second.
Mhm.
Instead of Ron Paul comes in first,
And
because
it's
of course they're not going to cover
significant.
Ron Paul, they'll just say that Ron Paul comes in second. But it'll be great to see that nonetheless.
I can see the Daily Show now.
Yeah. And that us winning here can actually push us to win New Hampshire. And they're trying to discredit Iowa right now by saying, well, if Ron Paul wins and that discredits Iowa, or that discredits caucuses. Well,
No,
if we win
our
Iowa,
governor said that, so.
the governor said that with discredit caucuses. So we win Iowa, and then we also win New Hampshire. Does that discredit primaries too? Just discredits the whole nomination process, you know?
Well, that's what they're already talking about the anonymous group hackers that,
Yeah.
well, they're gonna go in and they're gonna change the vote computers, and that will make the caucus in Iowa invalid. It's like, what?
There's no computers. They're paper ballots.
I just know what the news said just before I came here.
Yeah, they're trying to scare people to,
Yeah.
not necessarily scare them, they're trying to give them a reason to believe that Ron Paul still can't win.
Right.
Because that is still the number one complaint, that he's unelected.
And covering their butts for when he does win, and
Exactly.
they don't want him to.
Yeah, they don't want to be embarrassed with their false
Who's
predictions.
behind that?
But you really can't hack the caucus. I mean, the votes are on paper, they're counted in front of everybody, and then they're called in.
Calling
And-
people they know on the other end of the phone.
So, yeah, when you actually watch the vote count and the caucus chair calls the votes in, you do want to watch them and make sure he's calling the right number in. And you're going to have a number call us, so we get the exact same number, and if you want to, you can pull out your phone, take a picture, or whatever. If you really want to be, if you're really worried about it, I mean, you can do that. I'm not necessarily encouraging it, but.
Yeah, they're a lot friendlier this time around. I don't think most of them's gonna try to pull anything.
Fights don't start until the convention.
Exactly. And the good thing is we're not worried about shenanigans as much this time, because we've made a lot of inroads, we've built relationships. A lot of the Republicans have realized that the Ron Paul people aren't crazy, baby-eating anarchists trying to take over the party. They're Republicans who are conservative and constitutional, have disagreements on foreign policy, but are still Republicans, and they're not afraid of us. Well, they're afraid of us, but they're not as
It's harder to write us off as crazy people.
right. Yeah, they're not. What's the word I'm looking for? Threatened.
More respect.
Yeah, we're more respected. Well, more respected. In Texas, in a lot of the states, I know in South Carolina, you guys made a lot of inroads and changes in the Republican Party there. I know in Texas, we in 2010, our state convention, we kicked out the establishment party chair of the Republican Party of Texas and replaced it with an anti-establishment person. Not necessarily a Ron Paul person, but the Ron Paul group worked and made inroads and built relationships with the anti-establishment Republicans to replace the party chair. So you don't always have to get everybody exactly on your side philosophically. You just have to build the relationships. It's all about, we're all humans. It's all So we made some big inroads. I mean, it's happening all across the country. And the Pat Robertson people got involved in the Republican Party in the 80s. 10 years later, the Republican Party was known as the Evangelical Party. The core paleo-conservative libertarian wing of the party is now getting active involved. 10 years from now, what's the Republican Party going to be known as? It's going to be known as us. So it's the exact same story. So it's looking good for us. Just got to keep moving. Taking up enough of everybody's time.
I'll just say, if we don't do something this election cycle, I mean, I'm just disappointed as to what's going to happen, in 2 years. Just FEMA camps, I mean, are we going to have civil war? UN troops are going to, take our property. I mean, it's important.
Or Texas, because they might just,
It's a seed.
see.
I don't know. Perry's still governor. New Hampshire might secede.
They don't have it, they don't have it.
They're the Free State Project. All right. Thoughts, questions, concerns?
Thank you.
Yeah.